Ever experienced a situation where there are too many problems and you don't know where to start to fix them? Or you are under pressure at work to increase revenue, but are not sure what areas you should be focusing on? Today, we will discuss Pareto's principle. Using it will help you focus on areas that will render the most results. We are Team 1 and we welcome you to our presentation of Pareto's principle. We will look at its origin, everyday examples, and then some examples in business. To understand how Pareto's principle is applied to business decisions, we will conclude by looking at a case study. So what is Pareto's principle? In 1906, Italian economist Vilfredo Pareto noticed that 80% of the wealth in his country was owned by only 20% of the people. Later, Dr. Joseph Duran recognized that many organizational results came from only a few causes. It was Duran who named the principle separating the vital few from the trivial many, after Pareto. This is Pareto's principle, commonly referred to as the 80-20 rule. Some everyday examples of the 80-20 rule are: reading 20% of a book usually consists of 80% of the most meaningful content. Another example is when looking up something on the internet search engine. You typically will receive millions of results. A majority of the information you are looking for can be found in a small percentage of those results. Other examples of the 80-20 rule include: out of an entire person's wardrobe collection, 20% of it may be worn 80% of the time. Also, 20% of the contacts on your cell phone are used 80% of the time. And all the time spent using a computer, 80% of it is spent on using only 20% of those programs. In physics, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. But in business, it's 20% of causes that result in 80% of the effects. It's the vital few that outweigh the trivial many. For example, 80% of revenue will be generated by 20% of customers. Companies focusing resources to exploit the purchasing power of these customers will maximize the largest returns. Next, 20% of sales force will produce 80% of total sales. It's this portion of the sales force that the company must keep motivated to avoid losing a majority of sales revenue. And finally, 80% of delays arise from 20% of possible causes. Fixing a few processes can eliminate a majority of problems. In summary, companies can maximize their efforts by focusing on the vital 20% of causes to change the 80% of effects. Now let's look at a case study to see how this applies. In 2003, Primm Valley Resorts on the California-Nevada border had seen its revenues fall to half from prior year. This was due to the state of California passing Proposition 5 in 1998, which required the governor to approve any casino proposal by a Native American tribe. By 2002, many new tribal gaming facilities had opened in Southern California, drawing customers away from Primm. To survive, Primm Valley Resorts needed to formulate a new strategy. There are many areas that generate revenue at Primm. The properties consist of 3 casinos, each with its own hotel. There's also an arena, rides, attractions, 13 restaurants, 2 golf courses, 2 gas stations, a lotto store, and a mall. With the help of a consultant, a strategic management plan was formulated to guide the company to a path of recovery. This began with the analysis of revenue generated by department. This pie chart displays the percentage of revenue generated by each department. Despite all the amenities at the properties, it's the slot department, representing 20% of resources, that generates 80% of the company's total revenue. The new operation strategy started by changing the company's name from Primm Valley Resorts to Primm Valley Casino Resorts in order to emphasize that it was a gambling destination. Also, the mission of driving the slots was created. All departments were advised of their role of making this happen. For instance, the food and beverage department was to keep meeting guest expectations while ensuring that they are served very quickly. The less time a guest is waiting to eat, the more time they had available to play slot machines. Using the 80-20 rule, Primm was able to focus their strategy on their core business and managed to achieve gains in revenue for subsequent years. Today you learned about the 80-20 rule and how it applies not only to everyday living, but also to business decisions. With it, businesses can identify what areas they should focus on to achieve maximum results. For more information on the 80-20 rule, please visit the tabs at the top of our webpage. And thank you for watching.